Pixel art is not what it used to be anymore. It used to be an art style that allows you to get extremely creative and bring incredible worlds to life. It started from necessity of computer graphics, and it was the only way for us to display images on the screen. So now it's an art style that is beautiful and unique. I have a deep appreciation for pixel art and a deep respect for it. So it's not lightly that I say pixel art is dying. Sort of. The reason I'm even talking about this is because I genuinely love pixel art. So I recently did a video in which I was trying to choose a game for my next project that I wanted to spend a little bit of time on. So as I'm trying to find an art style that really resonated with me, I started to notice something. There's a lot of indie games recently, and there's more coming out every single day. Now, AAA games fail all the time, and studios shut their doors all the time. And it's sad, but usually studios have exit plans. It is the reality of a business. Indies, however, do not have such protection. Usually an indie is just a team of passionate people. It may be an individual. It may be someone's life's work, right? So indies put a lot of heart into their games, while AAAs put a lot of money into their games. And they both can be bad when they fail, but it just hits a little different when an indie fails. And that's not something that I want to just claim is dead or dying. That's not my goal or my intent to crap all over an indie developer who's making a beautiful pixel art game. That's not my goal or my intention for doing this. But the problem is, nobody cares. Nobody really cares about your game. Nobody cares. A lot of these games, despite all other factors, released to no hype at all. The game barely makes its money back. Nobody plays it on Twitch. Nobody makes YouTube videos about it. No one's talking about this game. And that's a really sad existence just if you put a lot of work into your game. Now, some people cushion this by putting some money into a marketing budget. They may start a little campaign, pay some influencers, get some buzz talking about their game, but after that, it kind of fizzles out. And now, as I'm researching for my own game, that really scares me because nobody wants to spend hours, months, days, years working on a game just to release it into the void.
The gang's all here.
That's a really sad thing to happen, which frankly happens a lot. So how do you mitigate that? I think as a result, gaming as a whole has kind of forced game devs to make games that are more marketable from beginning concept a lot. So game devs have to make different kinds of games. You can't just make the same old types of games that you dream about or you played growing up. You have to make something that kind of appeals to today's marketplace. If someone can't play your game and get really interesting reactions or share their reaction to a choice they may have made or anything of that nature, if there's no content that could be made out of your game, then a lot of people who played your game won't even share it in some ways. So it limits the social aspect. If your game can't be content, you're just begging for it to flop. Devs are almost forced to make games that market to content creators nowadays, especially if you're a smaller developer and you don't have a direct line to fans. You have to go through the content creators. You have to make games that give them content, which is really sad because you can't make what you want to make. You have to make what works for the business.
I look at like a AAA game these days and I just get exhausted. Wake the fuck up, samurai. You ever wanted to do the same fucking mission for 50 hours straight?
Now, going back to me as a developer, I'm trying to build my skill set as I take off on this journey. How can I hedge my bets? How can I set myself up for success and say making these types of games will get more eyeballs on it, will get more people interested in playing it, and give me a fair chance of people purchasing and actually enjoying the games that I make? What can I do differently, right? Should I put an animal in it? Should I put a fox? Should I put a spider train? Should I put some type of hook, like something that will hook people and make them interested and say, hey, that looks cool, let me check it out. So this is where my search started. As I'm trying to decide on an art style for my game, and I'm stumbling upon this realization of how the market looks today, Now, I'm literally nobody. I'm just a guy learning for the first time, so I can't say I have all the right answers at all. But I do feel like I know some of the wrong ones from researching and paying attention. Now, your game has to stake its claim somewhere, somehow. Even now, you could be playing a brand new game, you could be out watching your favorite show, but you're watching this video because for some reason, right? I don't know what I did, but I got you to click on this video, which I appreciate. There are better things to do all around the globe right now, and the biggest advice that people give is to niche down.
Niche down, or niche down.
Even when you're making content, they say niche down. I like to subscribe to the Blue Ocean Strategy. So if you've read the book called The Blue Ocean Strategy, written by Chan Kim, the Blue Ocean Strategy is basically this. All business, or in this case, all content, exists in two oceans. There is the red ocean, which is ultra competitive and trying to one-up each other and trying to differentiate themselves from each other. And then there's the blue ocean, which is the ocean where no one is and no one is looking. No one is competing with you. In the blue ocean, your goal is not to build the most competitive product, it's to build a different product that no one is making and create demand for that product. An example of this would be like in a red ocean, everyone is making games that are based around story, art, and mechanics. A blue ocean strategy, if those are the three criteria everyone is judged on, blue ocean says, well, I'm not going to make a game about that. I'm going to make a game about sound. The goal is to become a master of something new and give people something they didn't know that they wanted. You've created a demand separate from everywhere else. So how does this relate to pixel art dying? The truth is, pixel art is not a blue ocean anymore. Back in the past, it used to be. It is a ultra competitive red ocean. So I wrote it off. And the biggest reason I wrote it off is because I just don't have the skill set to compete in a ultra red competitive ocean as it stands. As a brand new developer, it would just be a waste of time to spend so much time and effort on a game that will not stand out in the marketplace. Which immediately clicked in my head, if I feel like that, how does the regular person feel? How does the person playing these games feel? This is when I realized this is way deeper than just me not wanting to make a pixel art game. A pixel art game has a lower perception to most people. There are three reasons as to why I think this is happening. The average consumer sees pixel art as low effort. Unless we're talking about Owlboy, Hyper Light Drifter, in which the art is extremely high quality, people will write your game off as low effort if it does not look like that. I don't think the average person is as impressed as they used to be with these types of games. Pixel art has lost its power and novelty in the consumer's eyes now. When they see a pixel art game, if it doesn't blow them away in terms of the art style, they are kind of let down. It's nice if done well, but overall, I don't think it's the reason people play your game anymore. No one is playing games simply because of the pixel art. Second reason, people are no longer nostalgic for pixel art. How can you be nostalgic about something that you see every day? I'm old, so I grew up with an SNES in the house. Even though, I grew up near the GameCube era, I still had the older systems and I played them. I was able to, I know what Mega Man was like. I played it, right? With the controller on a CRT. Right? I remember that experience. So when I play a game like Mighty Number 9, or I play a game like Berserk Boy, I recognize the little subtleties that people are doing. I can tell if your jump feels like the same jump that Mega Man had, but a younger person may not recognize that. So they could never be nostalgic for it the same way that I am. And as time goes on, the audience is not me, it's them. Even for example, Hollow Knight. I remember playing through Hollow Knight, and one of the first areas that you drop down into is exactly copy paste from Super Metroid and the first Metroid game. I don't expect a kid this is their first Metroidvania game to recognize that. So me, I smile and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This is a love letter to Super Metroid. I get it. These other kids now who are buying games are not going to recognize that. They don't see the box art and immediately understand it. They don't see the game and immediately get the controls. They don't understand the UI. This is all new to them. So it's no longer nostalgic, it's just a game. It's lost its edge. Pixel art no longer scratches a 12-year-old itch that I have in my brain to go back and play old school games. Pixel art now is just another art style that people are making. Now, does that stand on its own? I don't know. The third reason why I feel like pixel art gets a bad rap is that it's no longer original. Most pixel art games nowadays are spiritual successors, they're inspired bys, they're love letters, they're twists, right? Pixel art games as a whole, and not just an art style at low effort, I'm talking about as a whole, usually take something that we've already played and add to it, recreate it, or create something new from it. It's a derivative process. Even if it's done really well, so many games are doing pixel art. A game I've been wanting to play for a long time is Eastward. That's a very beautiful pixel art game. But in my mind, there are so many other beautiful pixel art games that I want to play that may be more different or more aesthetic in different ways, that it's kind of hard to commit to just picking that game and playing that specific game. It doesn't stand out anymore with its beautiful art style. It's kind of just the top of everything else rather than being different from everything else. This is why you start to see meme games like Goose Game and and other stuff, because those games stand out. They're blue ocean strategy games. There's nobody making a game about a goose. It's not happening, right? So if I make that game, if you happen to be interested in that game, I'm the person you go to, right? If you're making a pixel art game, there's so many different types of pixel art that you can go to. You can go to high-bit pixel art. You can go to minimalist pixel art. You can go to, 8-bit, 16-bit. You can go to so many different people making different types of pixel art games that it's no longer an original art style anymore. Now, the real question is it true? Is it true that pixel art games are low effort? Honestly, I think, looking at it from a consumer's perspective, it is true. This is coming from a game dev, someone who aspires to make games and will probably make a pixel art game in the future. I do think, overall, pixel art games are low effort, and rightfully so. And it's not because all pixel art games are low effort, it's because low effort games usually are pixel art. You understand what I'm saying? That's what's happening with pixel art games as a whole, and depending on if you like the original concept that game is based on, determines if I will buy this game that you're making right now. And as a consumer, you start to see them as low effort games with updated mechanics, a better story, a better overall game. Not saying pixel art, the art style, is low effort. I'm saying usually these type of games are derivative products. The thing I really hope for is that we continue to take pixel art and kind of evolve it similar to how Final Fantasy is being done with Square. Final Fantasy is evolving from turn-based to action because Final Fantasy wants to give you this really whimsical and creative and robust experience with the combat. So they keep adding that to their game because that was the original concept in their mind, right? Pixel art is being done this way too. Games are starting to merge 3D and pixel art together into one. Another example of an up-and-coming game is called The Last Night, which is a beautiful pixel art game that is basically borderline a 3D game that's using pixel art as kind of a vessel. And that's kind of what more games need to go into that are making pixel art games, because that's going to give you an interesting look as opposed to the same look as everybody else. It's an art direction thing, not an art style thing. The strength of being an indie in the first place is being able to take risk. Big studios cannot take risks. Okay, big studios have to make a profit in order to survive and pay everybody and keep the lights on. As an indie, you can be passionate and make what you are passionate about. The problem is we're making what we're passionate about as inspirations instead of making something brand new. There's a disconnect between the creators and the consumers, and it's growing. The gap is growing as time goes on, and the risk is no longer in just making an indie game, it's making one that looks like everybody else's game. The truth is, the average AAA consumer does not take indie games as a whole seriously because they are looking for something cinematic, a sort of Hollywood experience. They're looking for mocap, they're looking for acting, they're looking for depth, they're looking for 50 to 100 hours of playtime in open world. They're looking for a large game that feels like Avengers. That's what the AAA consumer is looking for. Indies, I fear at this point, if you're making a game that just focuses on basic pixel art, you're taking more risk than you need to be taking. So overall, I do feel like people see pixel art games and they think low quality and they think low effort. And as a result, it's gonna slowly die off because it's gonna be such a high risk to make one of these games that you're gonna start to see less and less of them. I don't think it will ever be dead. It is a beautiful art form that will persist and continue throughout the years. But I do think the craze of every game automatically being a pixel art game will slowly start to disappear as people start to see them as lower and lower quality games. Unless you're extremely good at it, try and find another option because pixel art games, as they exist right now, are dying. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it. This is just one man's thoughts on the subject of me trying to choose an art style for my game. So I figured, I was doing some research. Maybe you guys would be interested in that research as well, or that thought process as well. However, there's a new type of indie that's coming, and you're seeing more and more. And this is the new craze that will overwhelm pixel art and it will replace it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. I've been GC Rex and this is the Game Korea channel. Next time I'll be giving you guys a devlog and the updates on my Souls-like game, just so you can see, the progress and where I am and how I kind of turned all of this into what I did. So in the future, I will be making a part 2 talking about the new type of indie. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Peace.